So it turns out that Google might have been up to a little bit nefarious dealings. Picture this. You're sitting at your computer, ready to dive into some online research, check your bank account, or maybe even explore some of those, let's say, more private interests. You don't want to be tracked, so what do? Well, you might do what many internet users did. You switched on Google's Incognito mode. The screen turns dark, that little detective icon appears, and you breathe a sigh of relief thinking, I'm safe now. No one can see what I'm up to. But what if I told you it turned out that your digital cloak of invisibility might have been nothing more than an illusion? That while you thought you were browsing under the radar, Google was tracking every one of your clicks, keystrokes, and searches. But it doesn't stop there. What if I told you that this wasn't a technical glitch or a misunderstanding? What if it turned out that Google knew it all along and continued to market Incognito mode as your private, secure browsing option when it was anything but? Well, the cat's out of the bag, and now Google is facing a tsunami of lawsuits that could potentially pay out big time to users just like you. That's right, if you used Incognito mode on your browser between 2016 and 2023, you might be entitled to a hefty payout. Today, we're diving deep into how this legal firestorm ignited, and more importantly, how you can cash in on Google's colossal screw-up with the direct help of yours truly, Uncivil Law Attorney at Law. Stay tuned and learn how you're going to get paid. Google's Incognito mode, a feature that was supposed to allow you to browse the web privately, is now at the center of a legal storm. The premise of Incognito mode was supposed to be simple. Activate it, and you're promised that your browsing history, cookies, and site data would not be saved. It's a feature that many people turned to when they wanted to browse without a trace. But as it turned out, Google was collecting that data all along, even when you were in Incognito mode. You heard that right. While you thought you were browsing in secret, Google was tracking every single one of your moves. This revelation has led to a massive wave of lawsuits against Google, spearheaded by users who feel betrayed by the tech giant's deceptive practices. And here's where it gets interesting for you. Yes, you. That you directly might be entitled to compensation. We're talking about potentially thousands of dollars. If you ever used Incognito mode between 2016 and 2023, you could be part of this legal battle and claim your share of the pie. Let's dig into the details about exactly how this came to be and what Google did to land themselves in such a hot mess. What does it take to bring down a tech giant like Google to its knees? Deception, privacy violations, and broken promises. 3 potent legal weapons that are being wielded against them. At the heart of these lawsuits are several damning legal theories. First up is a claim that Google violated California's Invasion of Privacy Act, also known as SIPA. SIPA is all about protecting your privacy, specifically from unauthorized eavesdropping or data inception. Lawyers like me are arguing that when you clicked on that Incognito mode, you didn't sign up for Google to secretly collect your data. But Google did it anyway, intercepting your communications without consent. And this wasn't a glitch, it was a straight-up intentional violation of your rights. Next up in our legal theories is deceptive practices. Google marketed Incognito mode as a tool for private browsing, but behind the scenes, they are collecting data just like they would in regular browsing. This isn't misleading, it's a legal bait and switch. The argument here is that Google's advertising and interface led users to believe they were safe from prying eyes when in reality, they weren't. And we're not just talking about a few users, we're talking about millions of users who were duped by a feature that they trusted. Finally, as a major legal theory, there's breach of contract. When you used Google services, you entered into a contract based on their terms of services and privacy policies. Lawyers like me are arguing that Google broke this contract by failing to honor the privacy protections they promised in Incognito mode. Imagine signing up for a service that promises not to collect your data, only to find out that they've been doing so all along. That's a breach at the core of this case. So how do these legal theories translate into cold, hard cash for you? Let's talk about the potential payouts and what you could stand to gain from joining these lawsuits. All right, let's get to the part of this story you've been waiting for. What's in it for you? How much could you recover from Google's deep pockets? Here's the deal. If you use Google's Incognito mode anytime between 2016 and 2023, you could be eligible for a substantial payout. The lawsuits that my law firm are filing are seeking statutory damages under SIPA, which allows for up to $5,000 in damages per violation. That's right, $5,000 each and every time Google violated your privacy when you were supposed to have a feature that protected you. Now let's put this into perspective. Google has millions of users who likely used incognito mode during this period. If even a fraction of those users file claims, the potential liability for Google is staggering. We're talking about billions of dollars in damages. And given that this isn't just about one incident, but potentially multiple instances of data collection from each and every user, those numbers could add up fast. But it's not just about statutory damages. There's also the potential for actual damages if we can prove that Google's data collection caused financial harm or other concrete losses. For example, if we're able to show that your data was collected and used in a way that affected your finances, your job, or other privacy interests, you could be looking at an even more significant compensation. And of course, we mustn't forget punitive damages. Those damages are designed to punish Google for their egregious behavior and deter them from doing it again. Given the scale of the deception, there's a real possibility the courts here could award punitive damages on top of everything else. Sounds pretty promising, right? But in order to get that money, you're going to need to navigate that legal landscape, and that's where Uncivil law is stepping in. Are you one of the millions of people who trusted Google's incognito mode to keep your browsing private? Did you know that you could be entitled to up to $5,000 in damages per privacy violation? If you use Google's incognito mode between 2016 and 2023, you might be sitting on a very hefty potential payday. The Kurt Mueller law firm is here to help you claim what's rightfully yours. We're taking on Google for their allegedly deceptive practices and privacy violations, and we're ready to fight for your rights. You deserve to know that when you browse privately, your privacy would be protected. Google didn't play by those rules, and now it's time for them to pay up. Don't miss on your chance to join thousands of others who are standing up against Google. Visit uncivillawllc.com today to see if you qualify. Signing up is quick, easy, and could be your first step towards a substantial settlement. You've been wronged, and the Kurt Mueller law firm is ready to make it right. Act now, your potential payout could just be a click away. Google, of course, is probably not going to hand over billions of dollars without a fight. So what are their likely defenses? How will the tech giant plan to defend themselves against these mounting lawsuits? Google's strategy so far has been a mix of settling some claims while vigorously defending others. In some cases, they've opted to settle to avoid the hassle of prolonged litigation. For instance, they've agreed to delete billions of records and change privacy disclosures for incognito mode users. But the settlements thus far have not included any monetary compensation for you, the victims. Instead, the courts have left open the door for individual lawsuits to continue, which means there's still a lot of money on the table for those willing to pursue it. On the defense side, Google might try to argue that users consented to data collection through their general privacy policies and terms of service. They might try to claim that users knew what they were signing up for and that data collection practices were transparent enough to meet legal standards. But let's be real. How many of you actually read those service terms in detail? And even if you did, Google's specific promises about incognito mode on the splash page might have led you to believe you're safe regardless of what the fine print said, and that could be the kind of deception that leads them to be liable. Google might also try to argue that plaintiffs have not suffered any real harm. They might try to downplay the significance of the data collection, suggesting no actual damage was done. But don't let this scare you off. Even if you can't prove specific harm, there are statutory minimums in California, which provide for up to $5,000 per violation as a matter of law, and that could end up to quite a hefty sum. So, are you ready to take on Google and claim what's rightfully yours? Here's what you need to do next. These lawsuits against Google are a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to hold one of the biggest tech companies in the world accountable for violating your privacy. If you used incognito mode between 2016 and 2023, you might be sitting on quite a hefty payday. But to get your share, you need to take specific action because this is not a class action. Start by checking if you're eligible at uncivillawllc.com and consider joining my lawsuit. Remember, this is not a class action, so you need to choose to participate in order to be considered for any kind of recovery. The process may take time, and Google may not make it easy, but with the help of Uncivil Law and the Kurt Mueller law firm, you could walk away with a significant payout. So take the next step, explore your options, consult with me, and join the fight. Google has been playing fast and loose with your data for years, and it's time they pay for it. And who knows, you might just end up with a nice check for your trouble. Until next time, I've been Uncivil Law, and remember to keep it uncivil out there.